Mendocino Headlands, perched above the wild Pacific and just across the street from the lovely village of Mendocino, is a magnificent landmark and an important state park.
Morgan, this is one of the great views here from the headlands back to the village of Mendocino.
It is.
There.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic any direction you look.
Many of us come from all over California and around the world to stroll through the lush landscape of the headlands and walk down to the water's edge and stop by the visitor center on Main Street in the historic Ford House.
And so they brought a sawmill up here, and that's how Mendocino began.
We learn a little about the human history of Mendocino, when this community was the first logging port on the north coast of California. And we learn about the natural history of the coast, too. And along the way, we marvel at the grace and dignity of the Ford House itself, built in 1854 for Jerome Ford, the founder of the town of Mendocino, and his young wife and family.
It's just a treasure. It's a treasure to be part of it.
But this architectural treasure is struggling to survive. It desperately needs maintenance, and for that, it needs our support.
If we don't get money from the community because of the situation in the state parks, a wonderful structure like this, it's been around since 1854, will eventually collapse.
And the land around the home, the stunning natural treasure of the headlands, also calls out for our assistance. The headlands is overrun by uncharted trails and the serious erosion that follows them. California State Parks has no money to improve the trails and stop the erosion, or interpret the rich historic legacy of this land and the sea it touches.
Well, this is one of the most beautiful views in California, the village of Mendocino behind me, and right here, the spectacular Mendocino Headlands State Park. Well, this is a wonderful state park, but it has some problems, and it can use our help. So not a bad day to be out here. Every day is a good day to be out here.
Every day is a good day in Mendocino.
Before I tell you exactly how we can all help, and I promise it's easy, I asked Superintendent Morgan Zeitler to show me a few of his many challenges and give me his wish list, starting with trails.
But in this case now, all the water is following that trail down there, and it's 3 feet deep. These are the types of things we'd love to be able to correct more, and the headlands is riddled with these situations, just like this. We'd love to gently suggest areas where people will go, feel like they can get what they came for, get close to nature, but in a way that helps us preserve this and perpetuate it for future generations.
Morgan hopes to channel our hikes onto fewer paths that are a bit narrower to let the land heal. But that takes time to plan and money he doesn't have. And the same is true for some work that is hugely important, but by no means glamorous. Morgan took me to a dusty parking lot.
The end of the headlands, this is the end of the world for people, and they're just drawn to it. But it's creating ruts, potholes, and all the water tends to trend down this driveway and wants to go right off in that corner.
Right over this way.
Yeah, and as you'll see, it's creating quite an erosion problem. All the water comes right down the parking lot, comes right into this point, and it's eroding this edge rapidly.
This looks like the Grand Canyon to me. I mean, it is a huge amount of erosion.
And frankly, yes, and it's an embarrassment for us. We'd really like to be better stewards. We need a better fix than just the Band-Aids we've been able to do so far. But again, all these things cost time and money, and we could sure use some support and some help doing it.
Morgan, what is this structure here?
Finally, Morgan led me to one of the most beautiful promontories on the headlands, where some old wooden beams and iron rings give clues to a fascinating tale.
So Morgan, I mean, this is an extraordinary thing, but what are we looking at exactly?
Well, what you're looking at is a piece of the history that made Mendocino happen. And without this, if this weren't here, the town of Mendocino might not be here. You and I might not be here today.
Turns out, these are the remnants of a building from which redwood logs, taken from forests behind Mendocino 150 years ago, were delivered by long line to ships waiting in the harbor. These were the first logs shipped from the north coast to build San Francisco.
And this is all that's left of it. But as you can see, it's falling right into the ocean. We'd love to preserve this spot. We'd love to do a much better job of interpreting this for the public, telling people what the significance is.
Meanwhile, the principal historic structure in the park looks stately and sharp at first glance. But look more closely and you'll see it badly needs a paint job.
It hasn't been painted in about 17 years. And when you're right on the ocean, you really need better cyclical maintenance. It needs to be painted much more often than that.
Besides painting, the roof needs fixing. Shakes are breaking and falling off, and the foundation may need stabilization. The Ford House is in serious jeopardy, and the park has no money to save it. And that's where we come in, all of us who love this place and enjoy visiting the village of Mendocino and staying in its wonderful hotels and inns. We can each contribute a little, and together we can do a lot to help the house and the Headlands. I promised it would be simple. It's an invitation to those who spend the night here. Tom Kravis, owner of the Mendocino Hotel, explains.
We're going to encourage them to voluntarily contribute a percentage of the room revenue to a fund that will be put into trust and used by the Ford House to help maintain and restore the buildings and the land.
Inns and hotels in Mendocino are joining in, asking us voluntarily to add a little to what we pay for our rooms to protect our heritage.
Oh, the businesses are very excited that finally we're coming together to make some accomplishments with the Ford House and the Headlands too, because this is all one community. And they're a very caring community, we're a historic community, and so they care.
The money we contribute will be sent by the hotels to the Mendocino Area Parks Association, a nonprofit organization that operates the Ford House and gathers and provides private funds for educational and interpretive programs in the Mendocino area parks. Carolyn Cathy is Executive Director of MAPA.
My dream is to see just the Ford House just sparkle like it was originally. That's my goal, that and just the refurbishment of the Headlands because so many people enjoy them. And that would be a worthy contribution of my time and my life. And it's really exciting to be able to pull the community and the visitors together for a common cause. And with all of that, we'll make miracles happen.
With all of us pitching in, we can save the house and the Headlands and enjoy the fruits of our contributions for a long time to come on this land by the sea with its beauty beyond words. If you want to find out more about this effort to restore the Mendocino Headlands State Park or find out which inns and B&Bs are participating, visit the Mendocino Area Parks Association website at www.mendoparks.org.